Hi guys, what's up? This is Tevfik here, and today we will learn how to implement VR hand poses into your VR game. In the previous tutorial, we learned how to create VR hand animations using UMotion Community Animation Editor asset. Using this tool, we generated a bunch of essential VR hand animation clips such as idle, grip, trigger, and fist. But if you did not watch the previous tutorial, that's okay. I will share the generated animation clips from the previous episode here in this video. Now in this video, we will use these hand animations to animate the VR hands for our Fullbody VR Player. Just a quick note that in this tutorial series, we learn VR development with Oculus Quest 2 and Unity by building a Quidditch VR game. And I've been teaching VR and AR development for almost 3 years. If you are new to my channel, I put the links for previous tutorials in the description. Okay, let's get started. So, as you see, we have a basic VR scene where we can look at our beautiful body and move inside this awesome Quidditch stadium. And we have this Fullbody VR system powered by Final IK. If you have the Final IK, you can get the source code of the project on my Patreon. But if you don't, that's okay. I will share the hand animation clips with you and you can use them with any humanoid hand models. So as you see, I cannot move my fingers and that breaks the immersion. In VR experiences, we need to see the fingers' response to the inputs from our VR controllers. That's very essential. Okay, then let's do this. First of all, download the Unity package that includes VR hand animation clips that we will use. The link is in the description. Then right-click on Assets, Import Package, and locate the VR hand animations package. As you see, we have a bunch of default hand animations such as fist, grip, and trigger. Also, I added some custom hand animations for holding the broomstick and for a custom pose. I will just import them. To be able to use them, we need an animation controller. So here, create an animation controller that is called as Hand Animation Controller. Then click on your character that you will implement VR hand animations. In my case, it is the wizard model from Mixamo, and as you see, I implemented Final IK for Fullbody VR. And I have this VR controller above it with XR ring. It's a simple setup. You can check the previous tutorials if all these look weird. Okay, I will assign the hand animation controller here. And here, make sure that you have the Animator tab. You can get one by clicking on Window, Animation, Animator. Then let's click on Grip Animation and check its loop time toggle. I will drag and drop the grip animation into Hand Animation Controller and hit play. Let's move the left hand target a little bit, and there we go. This is how the grip animation looks. And we will use this animation clip when we press the grip button in our VR controllers. But we have other VR hand animation clips corresponding to different VR buttons such as trigger when we press trigger button, and the fist when we press both grip and trigger buttons. So, how can we use them together? Well, for these we will use blend trees from Unity's animation system. Let's focus on the Animator tab here. First, I will delete the grip animation. Also, uncheck this loop time toggle since we will play the animation only once. Then I will create an empty state for the base layer. Okay, remember that when we played the grip animation, both hands were using the grip animations. That is because these animations are mirrored. It means that they will animate both left and right hand fingers, but we don't want this. So create a new layer called right hand layer. And create another animation layer called left hand layer. Animation layers allow us to animate the different parts of the body at the same time. For example, our lower body can walk or jump and at the same time throw objects or shoot. So the same is true for VR hand animations. I mean that while the final IK will animate the full body, we will have the special control over the hands with these animation layers. And it is thanks to this avatar mask option here. Now inside animations folder, create a new avatar mask called right hand avatar mask. Click on it and expand the humanoid tab here. So here we can see all body parts that we have control over with green color. For example, if I click on the head, its color turns red. It means that the layer that uses this avatar mask will not affect the head part of the body. And it is awesome. It means that we can have full control of the body parts we want to animate. For the right hand layer, I don't want to animate the left hand of the body at all. So I will just disable only the left hand of the body. Because my animation clips don't have any effect for the rest of the body, so that I can control only the right hand. And I will assign the right hand avatar mask to the right hand layer. Then I will increase the layer's weight to 1 so that it is fully applied to the general animation. We will deal with the left hand later on. Okay, here let's create a new blend tree. I will call it as right hand blend tree. Double click to enter its site. For its blend type, I will choose 2D freeform Cartesian. Then here click on parameters. I will create a new float called grip_right and create another one called trigger_right. Then here set the parameters as trigger right and grip right. Add 4 motion fields. First one will be idle, grip, trigger, and fist. So these float parameters will be connected to the inputs from VR controllers. And they will get the values ranging from 0 to 1. For example, for the grip animation, we should press the grip button only. So the trigger right should be 0 and the grip right should be 1. Also for trigger animation, it is the opposite. And for the fist, we should press both grip and trigger, so they should be 1 and 1. And of course, the idle animation is the one when we do not press any of these buttons, so it will be 0 for both of them. Okay, let's hit play. I will get the left hand a little bit left and zoom into the right hand. Okay, when I set the grip right parameter to 1, it plays the grip animation fully. And when I do the same for trigger right, it fully plays the trigger animation. So when I set both of them to 1, it plays the fist animation. And the best thing is that we can now blend the motion thanks to blend trees. For example, when I set the grip to 0.5, it plays the animation not in full amount, but half of it. Great! We have a working animation system for the right hand. Now you should be thinking how to connect this system with the inputs from VR hand controllers. Well, we will do it in a minute. First, let's implement the left hand animation layer 2. I will create a new avatar mask called left hand avatar mask. Then disable the right hand only, so that we can control only the left hand with the left hand layer. And I will assign the left hand avatar mask to the left hand layer. Then I will increase the layer's weight to 1 so that it is fully applied to the general animation. Okay, here let's create a new blend tree as we did with the right hand. I will call it as left hand blend tree. Double click to enter inside. For its blend type, I will choose 2D freeform Cartesian. Then here, click on parameters. Create new float parameters called grip left and trigger left. Then here set the parameters as trigger left and grip left. Add 4 motion fields. First one will be idle, then grip, trigger, and fist. I will enter the position X and position Y values as we set for the right hand layer. Okay, now it's time to change these animation parameters according to inputs from VR controllers. Well, for these we need a script. Go to the link in the description to see the script. So this hand pose animator will help us listen to the controller inputs and play the corresponding hand animations. Download this script and put inside the scripts folder here. Let's open it and see what is inside. It is actually a very simple script. First, we have XR controller lists to hold VR controller and listen to the inputs. Then inside update method, we listen for grip and trigger input feature usages. And we get the grip and trigger input values ranging from 0 to 1 according to how much we press. This is how we listen for inputs with Unity's XR Interaction Toolkit. For more information, you can check this documentation. When we get the grip or trigger values, we send them over to the Animator. And to be able to set a float for Animator, we need to write here the parameter name that we want to change. At this point, remember our float parameter names. They start with grip and trigger, and followed by underscore which hand, which is actually what I'm trying to do here with this which hand string. Okay, let's implement this script and see it in action. Here, expand XR rig, and we have the left and right hand controllers. So I will attach hand pose animator to both of them. Then click on left hand controller. For the controllers array, enter the size as 1 and assign the left hand controller here. For the animator, drag and drop the character game object that includes the animator. And for the which hand string, I will right left. Next, click on right hand controller and do the same as you see in this vector. Lastly, I will disable these Oculus Quest 2 controller models from the Final IK episode. It's not a big deal, you don't need to follow me here. Okay, now I will connect my Oculus Quest 2 and click on File, Build and Run. There we have the VR hand animations integrated with controller inputs. And it is very cool to have both animations and Fullbody IK. You can use this VR hand animation system for free with any humanoid hand and body. Before we finish, I want to show you how to extend this system for custom poses. For example, I want to have the ability to change the hand poses according to object I will hold. Or I want to perform a custom pose in a multiplayer VR experience. Well, let me show you how you can do that with a simple example. Let's say I want to hold this broomstick. And when I hold it, I want to make a custom pose special to this broomstick's geometry. So we will play a special hand animation for this. Luckily, I prepared this animation and shared it with you here. I will drag and drop the broomstick hold animation clip here. Then I will create a new integer parameter called pose ID. And make the forward and backward transitions to the broomstick hold animation. Here, for the forward transition, I will set the condition as pose ID equals to 1. Uncheck this as exit time. And for backward transition, I will set the condition as pose ID not equal to 1. Again, uncheck this as exit time. Okay, you might be thinking what I'm trying to do here. Well, let's hit play and you will see better. First, I will disable hand pose animator for the right hand since it's affecting the hand poses at right time. Then let's get the left hand target to the little bit left. Okay, I will now set the pose ID to 1. Did you see? The broomstick hold animation is played. And when I set the pose ID to 0 again, it is back to old idle pose. That's the simple demonstration of how to implement custom hand poses, and I hope that at least it gave you an idea. So we can set this pose ID at runtime via a script, then we touch an object and grab it. And the best thing is that we can give unique pose IDs to various objects so that we can hold them with different poses special to the objects. As an homework, try to use these custom pose animation clips as we did with broomstick hold 1. Okay, that brings us to the end of this tutorial. Hope you like it. I wish I could go deeper, but I like keeping things simple, short, and easy to understand. My last video was way too long, and sorry for that. But you don't have to watch this. You can just catch the tutorial series with this video too. Don't forget to say the scene here. To sum up, in this video we integrated VR hand animations into our Fullbody VR system. And we basically play these hand animations according to inputs from the VR hand controllers. Remember that we created these VR hand animations using an external asset called UMotion Community Animation Editor in the previous video. In the next episode, I am planning to cover the grab system with XR Interaction Toolkit. I know that many of you want to finally hold this broomstick for a decade. So be it. But I really care about your special tutorial wishes, so let me know in the comments what you want to see in the next episodes. Also, if you want to see more tutorials on VR development, be sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel. It would mean the world to me. I also put my Patreon page in the description if you want to support me more. And by supporting me on Patreon, you may get some or all of my Udemy courses for free too. As always, I will see you in the next tutorial.